Virgin Atlantic, a bright red, fun, friendly, inclusive airline that's gone toe-to-toe with British Airways for nearly 4 decades, despite being a fraction of the size. How have they done it? Well, to put it simply, they're expert brand builders.
There's no experience like Virgin Atlantic.
Everything about Virgin is just a little more bold, risque, and downright naughty than British Airways. Yes, the red lighting is in your face, and it may be a turn-off to some people, but they don't care. Yes, the flight attendant dress policy may detract from the experience for some, but again, they don't care. They're loud and they're proud, and they've generally delivered where it matters most. Planes, lounges, seats, food, and service. Ever since they launched back in 1984, they've only operated long-haul routes with wide-body planes, and as such, they've needed to distinguish themselves when it comes to the pointy end of the plane. Enter upper class.
Virgin Atlantic's upper class offers you more than wide seats. A separate lounge to move around in, complimentary videos, movies, 4-course meals, snacks, a chauffeur to Gatwick, a limo or helicopter to Manhattan, even a free economy class ticket.
Upper class was advertised as first class at business class prices, and indeed it looked a lot like most competitors' first class products at the time. But a lot has changed since the 80s. Ironically, it was BA who was the first to introduce a fully lie-flat bed in business class, and Virgin soon followed with their upper class suite in 2003. Then came the Clubhouse lounge at Heathrow in 2007, complete with a spa and salon, and the upper class wing, including a private security channel, in 2008. For a brief period, Virgin probably had the best, most complete business class experience in the world, but the carrier slowed its pace of innovation, and many customers were disappointed when Virgin decided to install its 2003 era seat on the new 787s in 2014. And that seat somehow still flies today. Finally, in 2019, Virgin decided to make upper class great again, completely reimagining the seat as it took delivery of its first A350-1000. And the reaction was generally along the lines of, Virgin is back, baby. So when the opportunity arose to try it this year on my way back from India, it was a no-brainer. So grab your Speedo and a bag of crisps, and let's take a trip on this progressive yet polished carrier aboard Mamma Mia, the second A350 ever delivered to Virgin, on a 7-hour flight from London to New York in upper class. Alright, good morning everyone. Welcome back to the channel, and welcome to London Heathrow's Terminal 3. It's coming up on 11 a.m. and we just walked over from the Hilton Garden Inn, T2, where we spent the night after our Vistara flight from Mumbai. No upper class wing for us today. Those arriving via foot, via tube, bus, or the Heathrow Express just walk in the normal doors like we did. Virgin used to offer a complimentary chauffeur service to its upper class passengers, but that was scrapped during COVID and never came back. And unfortunately, another big perk of the upper class experience also was not available to us, but more on that later. You do still, of course, get a dedicated bag drop area, which they've tried to distinguish by installing these stalactite-style mood lights on the ceiling. The only agent working the upper class area was assisting another passenger at the time, but Virgin wasn't going to let us wait. One of their supervisors suggested we head over to one of the many open economy check-in desks down the hall, and we happily obliged.
Alright, thank you. Hello.
What are you guys off to?
We're going to New York.
And is it your final destination?
Yes.
What time is the flight?
It's 2:05, I think.
2:05?
Yeah.
At this point, I asked the guys why check-in was so empty this morning.
Slower time, or when do all the flights depart?
Yeah, this side is slower time. Because we just cut off from the rest of the world.
Oh yeah, fair enough.
Initially, this was specifically kept for London and Caribbean flights, so this don't have its own
Oh,
vibe.
okay.
Are you guys familiar with the launch? Have you been to the launch before?
No.
Alright, so unfortunately our private security controls for maintenance, so you're just using the Heathrow fast track today, okay?
Okay.
So once you go through security, follow the signs for launch H towards the Atlantic Clubhouse, okay?
Okay. All right.
That's good.
Thanks so much. All right. Good luck with the rest of the training. I'll see you. So quite the cheerful crew there over at check-in. There are only 2 upper class check-in desks available. They actually they took us and escorted us over to another side of the check-in area, and we were handled pretty quickly. I had a nice little powwow discussion about Florida flights from here to Orlando, Miami, as well as our trip from India.
Overall, great vibes from the Virgin staff so far, and even though we weren't in the upper class wing, it felt like we had the whole check-in area to ourselves. And despite the private security channel not being open, Fast Track was a breeze as they had just upgraded their scanner, so we didn't have to take anything out of our bags.
All right, we've been deposited into the main waiting area for Terminal 3. Security was pretty efficient, about 10 minutes.
This is departure.
What gate are we? Is there a gate yet? No gate. Gate shown 12:50. Let's head to the lounge.
And soon enough, the impressive slate of T3 lounges was upon us. It was so overwhelming, in fact. I completely lost my sense of direction, so we had to backtrack a little bit.
Wait a second, is this the right way? Let's see,
I feel kind of bad for leading my dad astray, but pretty soon we were back on track.
It's interesting because check-in didn't seem very packed at all, but the actual inside of the terminal seems pretty bustling.
Upon reflection, it wasn't too surprising given Terminal 3 handles over 140 flights per day, and it's also currently the oldest operating terminal at Heathrow, so any number of passengers is likely to create traffic jams given the narrow walkways.
Wow, look at that.
And here we are, up these stairs is the Virgin Atlantic Clubhouse, a 26,000 square foot space that cost over $30 million to build and has been described as futuristic, upmarket, and fragrant. It was once featured in Forbes' The World's Most Outrageous Airport Lounges, and so I was pretty excited to see whether it would live up to the hype.
Good morning.
Good morning. We make announcement for boarding 10 past 1.
10 past 1. And how far do you think is the gate from here?
It hasn't posted yet, but 10 minutes walk, so enjoy.
Thank you so much.
And another great interaction with the Virgin staff. But only a few steps into the lounge, and we were hit with the first of what would be many boarding announcements. I personally don't mind these at all, but be forewarned, this lounge isn't the most peaceful place on earth.
Please proceed to gate 32, where your aircraft will be boarding shortly.
I want a good view.
32.
But the design sure is nice. They did a good job making it feel spacious in an otherwise cramped terminal, and I'm glad they didn't overdo it with the purple and red in here. First order of business was to scout out a table to set up shop for the next couple hours. We settled on these little semi-private tables / workstations, which ended up being a good choice. And then, time for some food.
Buffet was small, but it looked high quality.
Order off a menu too.
Oh, you can? Guess you can order off a menu too.
And indeed you could. The menu was actually quite extensive, and I ended up ordering a few dishes for lunch, but first we had to check out the breakfast buffet before they cleared it. And pretty respectable selection of cold cuts, hard-boiled eggs, yogurts, fruits, oats, and granolas. Notably missing were the English breakfast staples of baked beans, cooked eggs, tomatoes, mushrooms, etc. But I believe you could order these a la carte via that QR code I just showed you. First dish is secure. I'm trying to keep things pretty clean here because, as you'll see, the calories are going to stack up pretty quickly. Alright, breakfast done and dusted. Let's see what else this lounge has to offer. Best feature in my opinion is the open air observation deck.
Alright, found the garden. Probably a 25 or 30 by 30 square foot little artificial turf area. Got these little graded fences. So not great for filming or taking pictures, but get to be outside, get to be one with the jets and the jet fuel. Pretty unique lounge feature, but certainly not lacking for any movements here at Heathrow. Coming up on 11:40 a.m.
But in classic London fashion, it was cold and blustery up there, so I soon sought refuge back in the cozy confines of the Clubhouse. Note there are showers available, but we didn't take advantage of them given we had just showered that morning. The restroom setup is pretty solid. Like the Polaris Lounge, each guest gets their own private room, stocked with real hand towels and random amenities. Got everything you would possibly need for your bathroom visit. Got some hand towels, Kleenex, soap, lotion. Not very large space, but don't need a lot here for a basic bathroom visit. Alright, as it was coming up on noon, it was time to test out the order to table concept. I settled on a basic hummus and veggies plate as well as the salmon. And it all came out around 15 minutes after I ordered. And that salmon, man, that thing was delicious. Definitely felt restaurant quality to me. It was nestled perfectly on top of a celery root puree along with some beluga lentils, carrots, and cabbage. My dad got the same thing as well as the cauliflower couscous, which he seemed to enjoy. All in all, I'd say the Clubhouse met my pretty high expectations. I think there were a lot of people in there, but somehow it didn't feel that way, which is a testament to both the design of the place and the amazing service. The staff were on their toes, and the tables were cleaned promptly as guests cycled in and out.
Bye. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. Thanks.
The 205, that's the 153 is not boarding yet, but it should be boarding soon.
Okay, and what gate do you
Okay,
see
so
it?
153 is gate 40, down the stairs to the left.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Roughly 10 minutes later, we were almost at gate 40. The tarmac views in the older section of Terminal 3 are abysmal, but once you get to this newer pier housing gates 35 to 42, it's a whole new world. After a quick pit stop to admire this rival A350 headed to Phoenix, we proceeded to gate 40, where we found our ride for today, GVPOP, also known as a roughly 5-year-old Airbus A350-1000 originally delivered to Virgin in 2019.
All right, just got to gate 40. Flight is boarding on time. Very calm over here. People have just sort of steadily streamed in. No huge queue or anything. I think they're already on like group 8 or 9. The flight must not be very full. Let's go. I'm excited. First time on Virgin Atlantic. First time on the A350. So let's do it. Hello, how are you?
Okay, I'm good, yeah, thank you.
Well,
Thank you very much. Well, thank you.
Thank
Take
you
the
very
left
much.
door A, please.
all right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, how are you?
Hello, sir. I'm very well. How are you doing?
Good, thank you.
At this point, I asked the crew if they were going to be okay with me filming, and they were super chill about it.
I mean, if you want to phone free,
Just ask?
Just ask and get there.
Okay. Much appreciated, Mike. Thank you. This is a fancy little lounge area.
This is called the Loft.
A loft, huh?
Do you want me to ask the crew to move a little bit and you can film it?
Oh, maybe later in the flight. I'll get seated though. Thank you.
All right, turning left here, we are very quickly bathed in red and pink light.
Very posh.
Virgin describes this 44-seat business class cabin as super stylish, and I can't say I disagree. You sort of feel like a celebrity walking down the red carpet, and I was surprised there weren't flashing lights as Lady Gaga songs played over the PA.
Hey, Mr. 4 Alpha. Please place large.
Waiting at our seat, 5 Alpha, was a nice fluffy pillow, some bedding, an amenity kit, menu, headphones, and naturally, some canned water. As I was settling in, the crew offered some champagne, which is always a great way to kick off a long flight, and the beats kept me vibing in my seat until the door closed bang on time at 2:05 p.m. Sadly, the mid-2000s pop songs were soon replaced by the safety video, but I was pumped to hear those Trent XWBs come to life. It would be a relatively quick 15-minute taxi over to runway 27 left via Foxtrot, Bravo, and Alpha. Then, once airborne, flight time to New York would be roughly 7 hours at a cruising altitude of 38,000 feet. And a very nice takeoff out of Heathrow. This flight was probably 40% full, so we basically blasted off from 27 left. First step, as always, upon reaching 10,000 feet is to test out the Wi-Fi before the lunch service starts. And guys, this tray table blew my mind. It was a little difficult to figure out at first, but once you mess around with it, you realize you effectively have 2 tray tables. One for eating and one for working. My dad executed this perfectly, but I'm terrible at multitasking, so let's start with the latter. The Wi-Fi network is aptly named Virgin Atlantic A350, and once connected, you're offered the option to pay for internet access or use your device as a remote for the IFE screen, which is pretty cool. I opted for the Wi-Fi Max package at £24, which offered unlimited browsing for the full flight. A fair price for 7 hours, but I would have liked to see streaming quality speeds, especially since these planes are only 5 years old. Before long, the in-flight service commenced. All right, coming around to take beverage orders. Gotta decide quick here. It's probably gonna be a sparkling water. Same old, same old. Can I just do a sparkling water, please? Sure. And do you mind being filmed, by the way?
No, fine.
I'm trying to get some footage of the service.
Would you like ice 11 with that?
Can I do 11, please?
11.
All right, thank you. As I was waiting for my beverage, I started poking around the IFE system, which is large, touchscreen, and very high res, but a little glossy. I just about lost it when I realized this plane had a tail cam and I didn't get any takeoff footage of it. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Oh man, alright, at least we'll get some landing footage. However, I was grateful to have discovered it this early in the flight. The soda water arrived with a hot towel and a bowl of crisps. They of course tasted great, but not the healthiest and felt a little cheap for business class. Very nice. Could eat a lot of these, that's for sure. I'll tell you, even if you're not hungry, eating a few of those guys will definitely get your appetite going. And we were certainly going to need it for this monster of a meal. First up was the smoked salmon starter, which was presented well and tasted great. In the moment, I was slightly disappointed they only gave us 2 spears of asparagus, but my stomach thanked me later. Let's also take a moment to admire these flying salt and pepper shakers. Very cute. For the main, I went with the chicken with fondant potatoes, broccolini, wild mushrooms, and Madeira sauce. Thank you.
You're welcome. Can I get you a top of water or anything?
Oh, yes, please. Sparkling water would be great. Thank you. Smells amazing. The presentation was not exactly awe-inspiring, but that's not what we're here for. We're here to get our macronutrients in the tastiest way possible, and this thing did just that.
Well done, sir.
Yes, I am.
Can I offer you any of the desserts today?
Can I do that mousse, please? Sure. Sweet. Thank you. So, desserts incoming, but quick question for the cabin crew out there. How do you strike a balance between being efficient with the meal service, but also allowing passengers to enjoy the experience without feeling rushed? I feel like the best crews somehow know how to be there when you're done, but not be stalking you your entire meal. And so far so good with this crew, although their jobs were made easier by the cabin being only 50% full. Alright, here it comes. Last course, best course for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Boom. Look at that masterpiece. Fairly simple looking, but incredibly decadent, and let me tell you, this thing probably had more calories in it than all the prior courses combined. I wasn't quite sure how to attack it to try to experience the best combination of flavors, but I just went for it, and pretty soon the crater full of caramel started leaking out the side. But you guys get the picture. This was excellent, but also induced a food coma, so as soon as it was cleared, I needed to get out of my seat to avoid passing out. Let's take a peek inside one of the 4 business class lavatories on board VPOP. And wow, I wasn't expecting this. We won't even have to turn the lights on. Look at that. Beautiful day outside. Close that for better lighting. Alright, what do we got going on here? Got a sizable amount of counter space, honestly, for an airplane lavatory. A lot of sink space. Got a nice basin right there. Trash, Kleenex, paper towel, hand soap, lotion. Got plenty of mirror real estate too. Look at that. Regardless of what your personal dimensions are, height, width, you'll probably still be able to see yourself, which is good. Little tote hook. And of course, I assume that's the smoke detector. Wouldn't want to tamper with that. And for the little ones, now time for a quick stroll to the back. The A350 is a long plane, 190 feet to be exact, so it would take you 14 laps down and back to hit 1 mile, whereas the A319 would take you upwards of 30. Once I got to economy, I realized there was a ghost town back there, which gave me the opportunity to try out some of the seats. It's about all you can ask for from an economy seat these days. Decent padding, adjustable headrest, big screen, sturdy tray table, and 2 USB power outlets. And the legroom wasn't too bad, but it's not going to win any awards. Perhaps the reason economy was empty is because everyone upgraded to premium, which is kind of ironic because they would have had more room to spread out in the back. But you do get a number of extra perks up here, including bigger seats, more recline, better legroom, better food, pre-departure bubbly, priority ground services, and boarding. Upon return to 5 Alpha, I got a quick top off of the soda water, as well as an espresso to help counter the sugar crash. As far as coffee goes, Virgin doesn't serve Illy, Nespresso, Starbucks, or any of the big brands. Instead, they've partnered with a British company called Change Please that donates all their profits to the homeless, which is pretty cool.
All of the people that work for Change Please are or have been homeless, and we sell coffee on the streets of London.
You obviously can't end homelessness overnight, but I read up on them, and apparently they've helped almost 1,000 individuals get jobs, including many as baristas. As far as the taste of the product itself, it was pretty solid. Alright, let's talk about the seat. First, of course, it does convert into a decently long lie-flat bed. Here's the lie-flat POV, where you can see that the footwell does restrict the feet a little, but not as much as some of the other products. Looking up, we find 2 overhead lights and 2 individual air nozzles as well. Off to our side, we have this privacy partition, which is sort of a quasi-door. It doesn't close all the way, but it does work to isolate you a little bit more from the aisle traffic. Storage-wise, you got a couple little shelves and a side table, as well as a sizable literature pocket. I also stored some items in the footwell throughout the flight since I wasn't sleeping. At this point, we had about an hour left to go, so that means it's time for more food. You can technically order this meal at any time throughout the flight, but given how large the first meal was, I decided to push it back as far as possible. Right here is the bao bun, which the crew generously offered to serve deconstructed for me, given the bun itself is highly glutinous. For my carbs, I instead went with this nut-free banana bar picked up in the loft earlier. Meanwhile, the old man went with the lamb flatbread, which I also tried and can confirm was pretty decent. After we finished our meals, my dad and I headed back to the little lounge area and talked about life over some tea. Even though it doesn't have a full bar like Emirates, it's still an awesome space where you can stretch out, converse with your travel companions, or meet other passengers. The space didn't get much use during our flight though, probably due to the combination of lighter load and more solo travelers who just wanted to either sleep or work. Pretty soon though, we found ourselves over Long Island, and that means it's time to start losing altitude. I'll let you guys enjoy the sights and sounds as we glide into runway 22 left at JFK on what was turning out to be a spectacular evening.
The fasten seatbelt signs have been turned on as we'll soon be landing into JFK. To help us complete our checks, please ensure your seatbelt is fastened low and tight, your seat back is upright with the armrest down, and all window blinds are open. And if you are travelling in our upper class cabin, your shoulder strap now needs to be attached for landing.
Alright, as we're pulling up to a remote stand, yes, you heard that right, a remote stand. Let's hit a quick recap of our flight with Virgin. Of course, we always evaluate the experience in the context of cost, and this one was a fairly good deal. Each ticket was 38,000 miles plus $777 US. So what you save in miles, you make up for a little bit in fuel surcharges and taxes, but overall, if you value Virgin Atlantic points at 1.5 cents per mile, that works out to around $13.50 USD per ticket. Not bad when you consider cash prices for these tickets can be upwards of 8,000 USD.
Thank you so much.
But here are my thoughts. Virgin was one of the most unique carriers I've ever been on. Despite the rather loud colors and brand, their people demonstrate humility and hospitality from check-in to the lounge and of course on the plane all the way to New York. The plane was gorgeous both on the outside and inside, and if you can get over the cabin lighting, the hard product is fantastic, despite the seats not having fully closing doors. Now, I haven't flown BA's Club Suite, but I have flown British and American from London, and I'd take Virgin over either if all three carriers were priced similarly. Of course, the experience wasn't perfect. The dedicated upper class security channel was closed, some elements of the meal service were a little unconventional and or cheap feeling, and the Wi-Fi speeds didn't allow for streaming.
That's an extra wide boy. Look at that beast.
I'd also note the light load factor on our flight likely contributed to the level of service the crew were able to deliver to each passenger, so if you're flying to London during a more peak time, it might not be as much of a standout experience. If you're booking a Virgin flight in upper class, pay attention to the plane. The seats on the A330-300s and 787s are far inferior and might swing the needle in favor of another carrier for me. And lastly, from a global alliance standpoint, I do consider SkyTeam to be slightly inferior than oneworld, so that may be one reason to choose BA or American over Virgin and Delta. But that said, incredible experience on Virgin, and I hope they stay strong financially so they can impart their swag on the UK air market for years to come. But that's a wrap. Thanks for coming along with me today. Hope you enjoyed the trip, and I wish you all the safest and happiest of travels wherever your journeys may take you. So long from New York.